Hello, my friends. Jacobs here one more time. I'm glad that all of you pressed the play button. I'm glad that you all hit that like, too, to get a bunch of people here. I'm glad that you're just here, especially with the world the way it is. It can be very depressing for a lot of people. A lot of people are down in the dumps. Can feel like, you're not going anywhere or nothing's going to happen for you. And it just feels like that the system, that beast system is just encroaching more and more and more onto your space. Another derailment, another toxic spill, another great fire, riots going on right now in Chicago. People are fighting each other like it's the Hunger Games. And you're here now to watch this show, which I promise you, by the end, it's going to really encourage you, because a lot of the things that are happening right now, these are things that I said would happen. I said it was going to happen. Because you know what? This isn't new. There's nothing new under the sun. Whatever has been will always be, and whatever is now has been before. And there is good reason for us to be encouraged about that, even though we got everybody cracking down. A while ago, I started talking about how the legal system was going to change. It's actually in my novel. That's right. Didn't plan on talking about that, but The Calling, you should get yourself a copy, because it's like spelled out there about how the legal system was going to change in this time, like to the day that I put in the novel. And the legal system is changing, like dramatically, in a huge way. A while back, I did a bunch of shows where I talked about the Trumpster, and I talked about how he was calling for the death penalty for people that were pushing drugs, people that were trafficking people, horrible crimes, right? But I said, it's very easy for people to just be put to death, and they weren't really drug trafficking or they weren't human trafficking, but people just lie about them, and they just... That could be one of the things that concerns me today. Rolling back all of these, these restraints that we've placed in society. And now it just seems like it's, we're going to take the kid gloves off, and it's going to be ugly. It's going to be ugly. And it turns out that it's starting to look ugly again. And it's been ugly in the past. Nothing's new. Nothing's new. The Gilded Age that happened just a while back, where all the people that had all the money, they're like, we could rule things, we could take over, we could do the best job ever. And what did they do? Child labor. People were poor, people were starving, people were having... Meanwhile, the people that were on top, they were just getting fat and gluttonous, and it was a mess. Now today we see people calling for that Gilded Age yet again. It's interesting, because the Gilded Age is connected to Arcadia. Arcadia is connected to Arcturus, which I just talked about. And it seems to be that could be the direction we're going. Very, very authoritarian, very, very dictatorial. That's it. You're going to be in trouble. A lot of new laws taking place in Arkansas. Governor Sanders, remember her, Sarah Sanders? She was like the press secretary, and then all of a sudden there wasn't a press secretary at all. There was nobody was taking questions for Trumpster back in the day. Sarah, she's now the governor, so I guess she did her due diligence and she got where she is, and she's making all sorts of new laws. One of the laws that she just put in place, get this, it affects children. Right? Because we care so much about the children. Well, we're going to roll back regulation, and we're going to make it okay to employ kids, children that are under the age of 16. Yeah, Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders just signed this bill, this law, this week, rolling back requirements that state verify the ages of workers under 16 and provide them with work certificates permitting them to work. Effectively, the new law signed by the Republican governor applies to those who are 14 and 15 years old in most cases. Businesses can't usually employ them. Well, now they can. Now they can. Now the young kids are going to be able to go down to coal mines. They're going to be able to go down there, get to work. You're 11 years old, get to work. That's right, after you get told what to believe and what to think and who you are, at school without letting the parents know, because of course we know that that's in the news too, where like teachers are like, we don't have to tell the parents if we're gonna have issues with whether they want to be a boy or a girl. It's just, this is a weird day that we're in, right? So people are scared and they're freaked out, and everybody they don't know what to do. And I come on here and I'm wearing a God's Champion t-shirt, and sometimes I don't feel like God's champion. But the good news is God uses people just like you, just like me, goofballs, meatballs, who don't know any better, who are fallible and make mistakes, who are the goofballs that don't know how to stay on topic and drink wormwood tea to entertain everybody. It's like me. You know, God can use even us. And in the days to come, God's going to need more of you, because things are going to get really interesting. And I would say very scary for a lot of people. But this Youth Hiring Act of 2023, children under 16, they don't have to get the Division of Labor's permission to be employed anymore. That's great. That's great. We're going to, send them to the uranium mines. That's like in that Handmaid's Tale, the series that I talk about, that I've talked about on the show, which, by the way, I said was coming. Handmaid's Tale was coming, right? And here we are, slowly encroaching upon it. Taking a cue from the Trumpster himself, Governor Ron DeSanctimonious, as Trump likes to call him. He just signed a bunch of new legislation as well. You know, they're doing things where they're gonna get rid of like parole too for some criminals. So, if you're a terrible criminal, you don't get parole anymore. I know a lot of people had an issue with this. I kind of have an issue with it too. If you get I get arrested for being a drug dealer or something. But what if it wasn't really true? Or what if the charges were trumped up? Or what if something happened and you get your trial and that's it? You don't get parole. You don't get a chance to get out. So it's kind of like, it just seems like right now the justice system is changing. Trump wants to make it a lot faster. This was the whole thing back to the Future, that movie with Biff. When he became president, what did he do? He changed the justice system. That's what Trump seems to be calling for as well. And it seems to be that's what everybody is doing.
Also signed the death by delivery bill today. That legislation is focused on the killer drug dealers that are fueling our ongoing fentanyl epidemic. The Biden administration has left our southern border wide open, allowing a flood of fentanyl to pour into our country through Mexico. To protect our citizens, Arkansas will step up where the federal government has failed. Arkansas will now charge drug dealers with murder if they deliver certain drugs that cause an overdose. For the most heinous drug dealers, those who traffic fentanyl to children, we will charge them with life in prison.
Even here in New York, they got robot dogs now. Remember I said they were going to be patrolling the streets? Everybody thought I was kooky. And I said, oh, no, I know you see them in China now, but they're going to be on our streets soon. And they're going to be. In New York, they just kind of like approved the DigiDog. A couple of them. These things are like $750,000 a piece. They call them the DigiDog. They make it all cute. They put the little videos out where they're all dancing around. But these things, they've attached guns to them. The service has been doing this. The military's been doing this for over a year now. These things can fire. They can scout you out. They can patrol the streets, tell on you, get you in trouble. Tell you if you're skipping school, get you back in school. And really, of course, then right to work, because you're 10 years old now and you got to work in the mines. You don't got a choice, especially if you're one of the lower districts. Like the Hunger Games. That's a thing. Believe it or not, I think Trump wants districts. He's calling for like these freedom cities. That's the new thing. He's promising free districts with no regulation. That's it. It's a new day. It's a new day, everybody. Children can work. We don't got to worry about the environment. We don't got to worry about nothing. Here, let me read this to you. Trump pledges to build 10 new freedom cities and flying cars. That's also from, Back to the Future. But, there's probably no connection to the two of them. Maybe he's not really a time traveler or anything, even though Elon seems to hint that he is. He says, today our country has lost its boldness. Under my leadership, we'll get it back in a very big way. If you look at just 3 years ago, we were doing the unthinkable. Our objective will be a quantum leap. That's time travel again, by the way. A quantum leap in American standard of living, Trump said. Almost a third of the landmass of the United States is owned by the federal government. With just a very, very small portion of land, we should hold a contest. It's like the Hunger Games. We should hold a contest to charter up 10 new cities. Maybe they're like districts, 10 new districts in the United States, or Pan Am, which is what the United States really was. Really, Hunger Games based on the United States, North America. Did a whole video about this. This is a video that I'm going to share very shortly with all of you. This one right here, the Hunger Games. That was when Biden, now we're Biden our time, when he was inaugurated in. The whole thing was the Hunger Games. And the irony is, I listened to this video at the gym earlier before taping this, and it's just very eerie how spot on everything I said back then. This was going back to the beginning of 2001, January 2021. The very beginning, how I said this is where we will be. And here we are 2 years later, exactly where I said we would be. So it should give you some encouragement. And I got to tell you something, I think I did a better job preaching back then.
In addition, we will create an ultra-streamlined federal regulatory framework specifically for freedom cities, allowing them to be true frontiers for the return of U.S. manufacturing, the invention of new industries, the rebirth of economic opportunity, and safe and affordable living.
He said we should hold a contest to charter up 10 new cities and award them with the best proposals for development. In other words, we'll actually build new cities in our country again. These freedom cities isn't the whole United States supposed to be free? Now there's going to be districts that are going to be free, 10 of them. These freedom cities will open the frontier, reignite American imagination, and give hundreds of thousands of young people and other people, all hardworking young people. He put that in there because, of course, the children are going to be working soon. That's the thing. Get to work because they don't ask questions. They can be bossed around and bullied. A new shot at home ownership and, in fact, the American dream. Well, if home ownership is like Neom, you know, that's smart city where everything's in 15-minute walking distance and it's mirrored and they put like millions of people in. It's like a cage. Yeah, everybody will have a home, but it'll be really tiny. I know somebody who likes the tiny homes is Elon Musk with his boxables. I gotta tell you something. I also like living I don't like having a lot. You know, if you don't have a lot, you don't got a lot to worry about. So I'm not like poo-pooing the whole idea. I'd rather see people with something than with nothing at all. But you know, the boxables are a thing. And at the Super Bowl just a couple of years ago, we saw it. We saw the boxables everywhere. And maybe that's where they're going to put everybody. But Elon's also calling for stricter laws. Yeah, he's saying if you transition your kid, you should go to jail. He's saying that. And I got to tell you something. It's like, it's a strong argument, you know? It's a strong argument. I mean, jail's a big deal. There were a lot of parents that really abuse their children and do horrible things. If you abuse a child, probably you should get punished, I would think. Wouldn't you? You know? I can't say I'm against the idea. I think, you know, people should be old enough to make these decisions. I don't think that something so drastic should be forced on a child, regardless of what they think, you know? Especially when, I mean, I've had 4 children. I have 4 children, 22, 21, 19, and 11. And every one of them has wanted to be something really weird at some point or do something really crazy at some point. If I just said, oh yeah, that's who you are and let's do it, who knows? But I'm not in this position and I can only speak as a parent myself. I want to see the best for all my, you know, family members. I want to see the best for all of you, and I want to see the best for all of your family members. You really got to go to God with a lot of stuff, you know, but I got to tell you, not all parents should be parents, and that's for sure. Prison time he's calling for. Everybody's calling for stricter enforcement. Maybe that's not a bad thing. I look at this and I say, wow, wait a minute, hang on a second. Wait a minute, because there are a lot of people that are incarcerated and they really shouldn't be. You're telling me they don't get parole now? That's like a thing? I think it's in Florida. That's it. You don't get parole. You're done. Getting a life sentence now? Who knows what you were going through? Who knows? Maybe you were slinging a little bit of Mary Jane. And all of a sudden, you're in life prison again? You know why? Because prisons mainly, if they're private, they make a lot of money for the wealthy people. Gilded Age again, people. Gilded Age. I told all of you, I said, there is a new order. And I said, the great dread dragon is going to lead the bunch. And I got to tell you, in the news, China's talking about how they're leading the new world order. They are. They are the ones. And they're the ones that are going to be able to come up with a good deal for Ukraine. They're the ones that are already working in the Middle East. They're the ones. And I did a video, by the way, right here, I think it was called President for Life, where I had Xi, Putin, and then I had a question mark with Trump. President for life, right? These are the new pharaohs, by the way. This is the thing that I've been talking about for a long time. We're going to see the last president, probably in our lifetime, just like that book about Baron Trump, The Adventures of Baron Trump, the time traveler, America's last president. Who knows? I just feel like the whole thing's a big setup, and everybody's going to welcome him back in. Meanwhile, it's all a big scam. It's all a big show to get everybody on board. Everybody on board. Hey, do you know he's very connected to China? Just so you know, a lot of people don't know this. The Donut put out a video about what was the video? It was this video right here, and it was about banking or something else. But he had like the avatar that Trump uses. He has like the picture of his face, and it looks like the American flag. And this one over here, but Donut had it like 9/11, like September 11th. Isn't that interesting? I didn't see it until, of course, it was pointed out, but I think it's interesting because our world changed on that day, September 11th. A lot of scholars say that could have been the day too when, Jesus was born. By the way, 9/11, September. Some people say that. Other people say it's in April. Who knows? The point is Trump's been next to 911 on commercials, and he was somebody who called in saying, the world and the country is going to change from this point forward. So he was right. Forward thinker. Unless, of course, he's from the future, in which case he already knew. Now we got digidogs. We got facial recognition. We got robots patrolling the streets. We got the Terminator coming. With the advent of AI, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. I even put out a poll, speaking of the Terminator and AI, because, Elon just came up with a new company. It's XAI. X. I'm going to get into X a little bit more. Osiris rising and all, being a picture of Christ, or we'll say Barabbas. Who knows? But XAI is a new company that he just established in Nevada. This is a thing. This is a thing. And so I just, thinking this morning, I put out a tweet, right? Because I was thinking about the video that I just did. This video right here, if you haven't seen it, you should check it out. And in the video, I talked a lot about, the smackdown he gave, the propaganda papers, and how NPR and public broadcast is leaving and other places are leaving and everything else because he labeled them government funded. But I put out a tweet because I was thinking, he gets a lot of money from the government. SpaceX, Tesla, I don't know. I don't know the ins and the outs. Listen, I haven't done a lot of research, but I'm sure he gets a lot of money from the government. I'm sure he does. NASA and everything else. He's the only guy that can get you back from the moon now. Just Elon. Yeah. And it's a good thing that he's cool and he memes well, because memes are funny and he is a very entertaining person, which is why I subscribe to him on Twitter. But I gotta be honest and I gotta be fair, right? So when everybody was like, giving him the big hurrah, I put out this poll right here. This poll, and I said, hey, since most people pay more attention to people like Elon on Twitter, which is true, he'll get like millions of views and millions of interactions, where you'll have like the Wall Street Journal will get like nothing, like maybe a couple thousand. But since he gets millions of people, I said, he gets more probably than NPR and PBS and BBC. I said, well, if he's going to label them as government-funded propagandists, shouldn't he be considered a government-funded influencer? Right? I mean, shouldn't he have a label, government-funded? I mean, if it's going to be, I mean, I'm just saying, like, if you're going to just point out that you're being funded by the government too, but everybody, I want to trust them, right? Don't you? Don't you want to believe? It seems like the world right now needs a hero, right? He wears the devil's champion outfit. I got the God's champion outfit. I don't have much pull. I can't do much. He has a lot of pull, and he can do a lot. So we can pray. I do pray for him. I pray that things will get better, because people like Elon, people like Trump, people like all these movers and shakers, they can make the world a better place. They can, and I believe they could. I just don't know if they will. We're going to see. We're going to see. So far, I guess we should just sit back and just pray and hope, because, a tree is known by its fruit. I just don't feel like things are going in the right direction. I got to be honest with you, because I'm on Twitter all the time. By the way, at JacobIsrael71. I love it on Twitter. I don't know if I'm deboosted or whatever else. I feel like I get a lot more interaction there than I do on Facebook. So you should follow me if you are on Twitter. And I guess we're just going to have to see. We're going to have to see. Doing the right thing is hard when people around you are saying the right thing is the opposite of what's right, the opposite of what's right. It's like, oh, well, we could wipe out a lot of people to make sure that all of civilization doesn't go kaput. That could be like, they could think that's good, right? But they don't know that there may be other ways to do it. I wish they would figure it out. It just feels like the Hunger Games is a thing. It just feels like, China's in charge. It just feels that way. Maybe it doesn't help the fact that, Hunger Games is all over the news too. BuzzFeed just put out an article, about the cast members back then and now, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Mashable then put out an article saying, talking about on TikTok how the Hunger Games is like a big thing on TikTok right now. And it's like a metaphor for the society the way it is now. Isn't that interesting? For the way it is now. And we got, of course, Hunger Games, their new movie, Songbirds and Snakes, I think is the name of it. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Keep your eye out. The Hunger Games movie is coming out in November. And as smart as they are, Netflix, they released the Hunger Games. So, of course, guess what? All of March and into April, Hunger Games was like top 10. Hunger Games everywhere you go. We got, everybody fighting everybody, people shooting everybody, people going nuts. Feels like we have entered into, the Twilight Zone. Feels like we have entered into a time where it's gonna get really bonkers really soon. I mean, really, really, like a technocratic sort of dictatorship. It's gonna get really, really something. They just came out with a digital currency, Unicoin. The logo is like a unicorn. The strength of a unicorn is a big deal in the King James, by the way. But I was reminded that when Balaam was asked to curse Israel for Balak, because Balak's like, hey, I know that Israel's out there. Balaam continued to see that God was like, nah, not going to happen. You better not curse them, because God's with them. God has the strength of a unicorn. He's going to pull us out. He's going to protect us. He's going to guide us. He's going to lead us. I mean, I even have it. I can read you a little bit of it. I can read you a little bit of it, especially when you're seeing all this. Here, I'll just read you the part where it says, how goodly are your tents, Jacob, and your tabernacles, Israel, as the valleys are spread forth, as gardens by the riverside, as the trees of aloes which the Lord hath planted, and as cedar trees beside the waters. He'll pour the water out of his buckets, and his seed be in many waters, and his king shall be higher than Agag, and his kingdom shall be exalted. God brought him forth out of Egypt. That's us, people. God's brought us out of this system. I don't know if you notice this, but the system's different now. God's pulling us away from the system. You got to be out of the system. And the system's about to crack down again. So God's going to find a way to get us out of this system and protect us and lead us. He hath, as it were, the strength of a unicorn. He shall eat up the nations, his enemies. He shall break their bones, pierce them through with his arrows. He couched, he laid down as a lion, and as a great lion, who stirred him up. Blessed is he that blesses Jacob and Israel. Cursed is he that curses Jacob and Israel. Balak wasn't too happy about that. The system's not going to be too happy about that. God is on our side. We may not feel like champions. We may not believe ourselves to be strong enough or fast enough or smart enough to compete with this. My little pole. What does that do? What can I do? How can I come at anybody? I don't want to come at anybody. I just want to make the world a better place, don't you? And I know that God has a plan for us. And God is leading us, regardless of the Hunger Games that are before us. You don't believe me? Well, a couple of years ago, I told you all about this. And I got to tell you, I watched the video, and you probably saw it 2 years ago, but you should see it again. Because God's been speaking to us on this channel for a long time. And if you're new, please do me a favor. Hit subscribe. Remember, I'm here every other day. You're not going to be reminded. You're not going to get the push outs unless you're connected to me on all these, Facebook or Twitter or Telegram or wherever else. Everything's in the description below. You probably won't be told about every video. If people don't come in and they don't hit like and they don't share it, not a lot of people are going to see. 2 years ago, I said the day was coming that we would be in the Hunger Games because I saw it in the inauguration. Just the way they dressed alone. So, I want you to watch it. If you don't, it's okay. You could leave. I'm glad you watched this long. But I challenge you to stay and watch this because I tell you something, it really encouraged me. And I believe it's going to encourage you too. I'll talk to you soon. Enjoy. Bye-bye. Hello, my friends. Jacob is here once again. How I have missed you. Thank you for pressing play, for spending a little time with me. I hope you take the time to hit that subscribe bell, and check for notifications. Share the channel around after this show. You'll probably want to do it because it's just, life just continues to get more and more beautifully insane and wonderful and complex. And it's entertaining. It's entertaining as all get out. Today, we're going to talk about some fashion. That's right. And I got to tell you right off the top of the show, got to put this out there. This is just, speculation, we'll say. Things that come together, one thing after another thing. I learned something and then it brings me to another thing that I learned and all of a sudden I'm like, wow, wouldn't it be interesting if? So, I'm not saying anything is fact. I don't know, except for the spiritual stuff. That I know for sure. And this is a positive message. It is something that is going to make that caged bird sing. You'll know what I mean in a second, so buckle up. Okay, here we are. Here we are. At the end of my last video, I believe it was the Nebuchadnezzar video, or maybe the one before, I sang a little bit of a song. I said, it's a new day, it's a new dawn, it's a new life. I don't know why I quoted it, but I did. And turns out, the next day, I then tweeted the same thing. It's a new day, it's a new dawn, because I was trying to encourage everybody, right? Because I know, you don't got to say anything, I know, right? Nothing is as it ever seems. I told everybody to be careful, watch out for the big swerve that's coming. And things are going to change quite a bit. They already are, in record speed, it seems. For people that seem to be slow in real life, it just seems like everything's moving so fast, which I don't understand. But that's okay, because we're going to get through it. Let's start off, though, with the things that I noticed. and why this is something that I think more people should be paying attention to. Because, I've been saying for many years on the channel that Life is a big movie. This is the greatest summer blockbuster of all time. You're in it. You're the star, right? Because you're the child of God who forgot who you are. And you're putting your faith in this world beastly system, which is never going to bring you peace. And it's just going to it's like a nightmare, right? When you're having a nightmare, it has to get really bad before you finally wake up. So things, they got to start to twist and turn before your eyes, before you say, okay, enough already. Teach me the truth. I want to know. I want to know what this is all about. I want you to guide me and lead me and give me some insight and give me some understanding. And I got some. And it started with Lady Gaga, of all things, right? Lady Gaga singing. She has a beautiful voice, whatever you want to say about her. She's a great actress too. Whatever you want to say about her. She's an artist. She's got a lot of followers, like 80-something million followers, maybe more. I don't know. But she sang that national anthem, and the first thing, of course, that I said was, oh, good grief, it's the Hunger Games. I'm not the only one. I mean, it looks like the person who designed her outfit was taking it straight from the movie. Look at this. Now, a lot of people put memes out and everything else, but I don't think anybody really took the time to explain what the Hunger Games was all about. You see, there's the Capitol, right? Yeah. And there was an uprising. That's what the Hunger Games are about. The Hunger Games. Whew. Right. So what happens was there was this big uprising against the beast system, if you will. I think it's called Pandam is the name of the place. Pandam. I don't know. I'm not a huge Hunger Games fan, but I did do a little research. Ironically, Pan. We've been talking a lot about Pan, right? The goat god, Baphomet, right? Okay, so that's their place. It's kind of like North America. Many people kind of say that that's what it is. These are a bunch of people that live very gluttonous lives and really don't care too much about the people. They're kind of people that'll be like, here is our force, our large force, and you better not do anything or say anything. And by the way, I don't know why I got to make this clear, but don't do bad things. I mean, it's like, what I teach here is what Christ taught, which is love your enemies. Your enemies, you got to love them. And how do we love? We forgive. We allow God to work, and God is working. God is working. I was a little concerned, right? Because that's the whole thing with the Jacob's trouble and but I said we got a couple of years. We got 3.5 years. And in a second, I'm going to get back to the Jacob's trouble stuff. It's going to make a little more sense. But let's first take a commercial break. Hey, you like how I did that? I'm becoming a real YouTuber and everything. If it worked, I hope it worked. Let me know in the comments section if it worked. By the way, comments are very important. Liking and sharing is very important. It helps the channel to grow. Okay, so Hunger Games, first thing you see, right? I mean, there were a lot of other memes going around, of course. They said, of course, The Simpsons predicted the outfit that was worn by our Vice President, Kamala Harris. A lot of fake news going around too about Kamala. I got a bunch of people sending me this, where they said that she took the vow, but it was on her purse. And it was a picture, and from the angle it looked like a purse, but all you got to do is look for another angle. Right? You got to be careful. You see, There's so much fake news. It's the flood of lies that is put out in the world, and you got to be careful. You can't just go run with things. It's kind of like that's that knee-jerk reaction. That's fear, right? Fight or flight. That's the brain stem. It's the lowest form of thinking. That's why it's called the reptilian brain. It's the snake hanging from the tree in you, right? Which is the temple of God. So you don't want to be listening to that dirty reptile. You don't want to be, you want to take a second, you take a deep breath and say, okay, what does this really mean? And then look into it. Turned out it was just a Bible that had a zipper. That's it. So we get back to her singing, and you have this gigantic, this huge, this incredibly gaudy, it was a dove, which is very symbolic. Birds, so in scripture, very symbolic. A dove, super symbolic. Jonah actually means dove. He's a messenger, a prophet. That's the reason why Jonah means dove. A dove descended on Christ. A messenger of God's truth, right? A messenger that descends. It's very symbolic. And of course, we're talking about seed-eating and berry and fruit-eating birds, not those like ravens and the ones that eat the flesh and the meat and all that. Many birds have very symbolic meanings, like the robin, the redbreast, right? Very symbolic of the breast being covered with the blood of Christ, some say. Others say it's a picture of Mary. We're going to get into the robin in a second. And I'm talking about birds for a reason, not just because I think birds are cool. And if you remember correctly, at the beginning of this flood that happened, right, with the virus of the crown, when everybody was stressing out, all of a sudden nests started appearing everywhere around my house. I think I had something like 12 nests at some point. At one point, I had a couple of them up there until I got scared about bird mites, and I got rid of them. And then someone threw them out. Very disturbing. But this spring, I'm sure there's going to be more nests. I'm going to get a nest on set. My point being, right, the birds, they're messengers. Noah, when the flood came, he sent that dove out into the world to see where it would land. That was the whole point. It's like, he wanted to see if the waters abase. So first he sent out the raven. Then he sent out the dove, and Lady Gaga's wearing that dove. Now, what's interesting about that is when the dove came back with the olive branch, the olive leaf, it depends on whether or not you believe in Mandela effects, who knows, right? But it was a symbol that dry land had appeared after that the floodwaters had abased. Now, what's weird about this is that when this virus of the crown literally took off, I had done like a video too about the flood, right? This one. And ironically, because what I had said was, it was kind of like I was inspired to share with all of you that the world outside, get into the ark. I'd been telling people on the channel for a while, get into the ark, get ready, buckle up, things are going to, right? I've been saying, don't worry, because if you seek God and you seek the kingdom of God and you love and you forgive and you walk upright, right? And you follow the rules, as long as the rules don't hurt other people, because this is what God has ordained for us to go through this. You think God's not in charge? God's in charge. He's going to make a quick work of things. So this scary time that everybody thinks they're in right now, it's going to be over with, and then something new is going to be birthed out of it. In my video about Nebuchadnezzar, I talked about the stone. That is the kingdom of God that is now being birthed in the world today. But the problem is you gotta shut down those messengers of God if you're part of the beast system, right? You gotta cage those birds. Can't let those birds sing. Even though I'm singing, baby. La 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 la. Welcome back. So clearly the Hunger Games starts after there's an uprising. So of course everybody's gonna look like they're in the Hunger Games or Handmaid's Tale. Some people say that. The way everybody dressed in purple too. So a lot of people saying, oh, it's this and it's that, and it's a lot of spooky things. This is all spiritual stuff, by the way. The woman is a spirit, and it's on the many waters. It's not just about one literal person, but yes, there may be literal people that'll stand up that will play this role, that will be messed up people, that'll do some pretty horrible things so that you wake up. For those people that are lost and trapped in the world, you need worldly nonsense to wake you up, right? But those that are seeking the Spirit of God and the kingdom of God, they're going to be okay. They're going to be okay. They'll be fed, right? Just like when Israel was in the wilderness and they missed the flesh pots, right? I miss bowling and I miss bingo night and I miss, right? They miss the flesh pots of Egypt. They do. And they're like, how am I going to get food? But food always arrived. Food always arrived. That's why you got to be grateful. I shared that, by the way, on the community. I share poems here and there, And while we're talking about stuff that I share, because I have essays and go to my website too. Please, it's in, I think it's in this corner over here, jacobisrael.com. Click subscribe. You'll be notified when I post things, just in case, it's just good to know. And also I got a lot, it's a free resource. You can learn till you learn till you learn. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to enjoy it. You're going to love it. And you're going to be more encouraged in life, especially when you feel like a caged bird. Why do I keep talking about caged birds? Okay, so Katniss in the Hunger Games, right? You got the big brooch, so you got the bird. Okay, so now here's where we get into that wonderful poem that everybody's, up in arms, everybody's talking about. That wonderful poem everybody's talking about. I believe her name is Amanda Gorman. I thought she was like young. It turns out she was 22. I was more impressed when I thought she was like 12 or something. I mean, I'm just being honest. It was a great poem. And guess what the poem, included in it? A new dawn. A new dawn. But that's not why I'm talking about the poet. I'll get to that new dawn part in a second. I want to talk about the ring that she was wearing because that's making news. Now, why is this interesting? Oprah had given her this ring. That's huge. Oprah's big, right? Everybody knows who Oprah is. She gave her this jewelry to wear. In the tweet, when she said how proud she was of her, and everybody should be because that's a lot of pressure, even for a 22-year-old, and a beautiful poem, and encouraging and inspiring, I guess. I don't know. I didn't listen to the whole thing, I'll be honest. just because, I write poetry and I like stuff that rhymes and sounds like Dr. Seuss. I'm very simple. I'm a very simple man. Complex things, it's too much for me. God likes to use simple people. Because it gets too complex with all the big words and all the this and the that. I said, so I'm proud of you. And she said, thank you. And I noticed that she'd been given a ring by Oprah. And it was a caged bird. It's weird, right? We've got birds everywhere. Caged bird. So I'm like, there's gotta be more. I don't know what it is at the time. So I start kind of looking into it and trying to understand, because obviously I see the symbolism of a messenger. And I think that's great because that brooch, pay attention to this, that was on her upper chest, her heart, whatever you want to call it. That appeared on the scene almost 251 days from when I did the video about the ark and the flood and everything else, and that the dry land was going to appear, because in that video I explained to everybody that the flood water stopped, but it took a while for the waters to recede, and they couldn't get out of that ark. They didn't get out of that ark for like almost a year, right? Because the world it was a new world that they were entering into. Yeah, hello, right? We're in a new world. Encouraging and both strange, because there's the belief that the enemy does things in the natural to copy and mimic the things that are going on in the spiritual, but I see it as, oh, okay, the dove with the olive branch, peace, dry land has appeared, the kingdom of God is at hand, it was made in gold, which gold's not that great, but it is symbolic of divinity. And I'm of course not saying that Lady Gaga's this wonderful divine person. Not saying that at all. Please hear what I'm saying. I'm saying that the dove showed up about the same amount of time from when Noah had the dove show up. About the same amount of time. So strange, right? That the world sees this at that moment, almost exactly. It was like 251 days. Just so wonderful. And then you get the caged bird and you think, that's strange. Why? Because of course I'm aware that birds are messengers of God, and I've been doing videos about where I say, oh, the hunt is on. The hunt is on, and I worry, are they going to come after this? Are they going to come after that? And guess what? That's what they're already doing. But I mean, I don't know how they're doing it. Hopefully it's really, they're going after really bad people, and they're not just using this as a chance to, just... do what is not good. Because when the messengers of God speak, they want to cage them. Is that what they want to do? Is that what they want to do? To show force and then not care about the people and say, oh, go in the basement. Go in the basement. For the photo ops. Go in the basement now, in the garage. Sorry, there's only like one bathroom. It's so clear to see that things aren't the way they're supposed to be in the world and that things need to change. And like I said before, they're going to change. But that system's going to cramp down and try everything it can to keep the truth at bay, because that sets you free. You got the caged birds, and it's interesting, right? On her ring finger, which is a signet ring. It's very, very symbolic. This is where it gets really weird, though. Do you know what Joseph Biden's middle name is? And I'm not saying this I don't gotta say anything. Everything's gonna be said. I don't need to say anything about anything. I'm going to pray that the Lord is going to use this man to do exactly what the Lord wants to be done in the world, so ultimately his kingdom is known. We've got to pray that righteousness and peace and joy, regardless of what you think, regardless of how crazy it all seems, you got to pray, Lord, make it work, because we're supposed to even pray for our enemies. And I'm not saying he's our enemy. Some people think that that's the case. The only enemy you really have is within you already. That's the real Antichrist, the one that's getting you to hate. The one that's getting you the knee-jerk reaction and getting you scared. So, I'm looking at everything in Scripture about, birds and cages, which, by the way, let me just read you, okay? Because it's about a wicked day that comes upon a people that are unaware. This is I believe this is in Jeremiah 5, okay? Among my people are wicked, who lie in wait like men who snare birds. Wicked people that are in wait, looking to catch that bird, stop that messenger of truth, stop that love, stop that unity, stop that peace, stop that prosperity. And like those who set traps to catch people. Birdcage. The wicked setting traps for people. It's just strange. Like cages full of birds, their houses are full of deceit. They've become rich and powerful, and they've grown fat and sleek. Their evil deeds, they have no limit. They do not seek justice. They do not promote the case of the fatherless. They do not defend the just cause of the poor. Should I not punish them for this, the Lord says? I think that's what's happening, just so you know. Should I not avenge myself on such a nation as this? A horrible and shocking thing has happened in this land. The land that you say is under me? That's not in there. I added that part. The prophets, the people that you put your faith in, they prophesy lies. The priests, they rule by their own authority. And my people, they love it this way. I see how many people are coming out there saying, the prophecy was true. He did win. It was stolen. Yeah, a lot of people. And people are like, okay, maybe, but he's not the president right now. Joe Biden is the president. I'm not saying that's the way it's always going to stand, because if you watch my Nebuchadnezzar video, you know that the whole point of that message was to get word to humble yourself, to go to God, that maybe your kingdom will be restored again, that maybe God's rule will be back in the land again. Don't turn into a beast. That was my message. Oh, good grief. Cages. People wicked, devise wickedly to snare birds. Caged birds everywhere. Interesting. Ecclesiastes 9:12 says, moreover, no one knows when this hour comes, as fish are caught in a cruel net, or birds are taken in a snare. Listen to this. So people are trapped by evil times that fall unexpectedly upon them. And why is that? Because people have turned away from God. They've turned away from love. They've turned away from unity. They've turned away from truth or peace. They've turned away from encouragement. They've turned away from creativity and inspiration. And they're just lowest common denominator, fight or flight, reptilian brain. They're following the devil because the devil knows his time is short, because this wicked spirit spreads its wings and humanity has become its prisoner. That's a line, by the way, in my novel that I wrote years ago that's being re-released for this day. And that line was written for the day that we're in, which is interesting. That's why I think releasing the book now is just perfect, because it just turned out to be exactly what the novel was about. So strange. So birds and nets, snares. Guess what Joseph Biden's middle name is? Robinette. Robinette! This is like news. What are the chances? What are the chances I'm seeing this and then there's Robinette? Robinette. And then like right after it, we hear this. Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., born in Scranton, Ohio. And ironically, his son's name is Hunter. Hunt. The hunt is on. I do remember doing a video about that. But once again, are we going to trust in the Lord? Are we going to be scared? Are we going to be singing praises? Because, really, the story goes that God's kingdom is being established. And if God's kingdom is being established, look, a lot of people came against Israel, but what happened to them? Huh? Everybody's so scared. What happened to the enemies of Israel? They didn't have to do nothing to get into Jericho. Think about this. Yeah, just walk around. Yeah, 7 times. Shout, sing praises, blow the trumpet. Blow the trumpet. Blow the horn. The walls come down. You inherit the land. Even you're looking at giants. You're looking at giants with all their military and everything else. If they're corrupt, if God didn't place them there to do godly things, the Lord will deal with them. You won't have to. So there's no need for an uprising, right? Like so many of the people on YouTube like to say, oh, you're not doing enough. What am I supposed to do? Right? What am I supposed to? I'll tell you what I did. I saw my neighbor had some siding issues. He just moved into the neighbor. I gave him my ladder. That's what I do. I do nice things for people. You know what I do? My neighbors across the street, they're Muslim. They moved into the neighborhood. I want them to feel loved. You know what I did? I went to mosque with them. That's right. Some people may have a problem with that. I don't, because I serve the living God. I serve the one true God. So I can go to this place, I can go to temple, I can go to a mosque, I can go to a yogi, I can go to this, and I can still share the light of the Lord. And guess what happens? Guess what happens? Because I showed that love. They're drawn to me, and then the system goes, and then they go right back to the kingdom of God where they came. There's only one Lord, one God, one baptism, one Spirit that's in all and through all. And you think that just because things look a little spooky, you think you're going to be in trouble? You think you're not going to make the mortgage? You think you're not going to make rent? You think you're going to lose it? Who cares? It's going to be okay. As long as you're getting this right and you're getting this right. So now for the good news, right? So I was concerned a while back, right? When that eclipse happened and all that stuff happened in December. The time of Jacob's troubles begun, right? Well, this is the time when Jacob wrestles. This is the time when he wrestles. And at the end, you know when the wrestle stops? You know when the fight stopped? You know when it stopped? When the day was breaking. The dawn. Now, this strikes me as interesting because the night before last, before I'm writing this show, before all the pieces somehow magically come together, I don't know how they come together. They just do. They just lay themselves out for me. And then I come here and I have a little bit of time before I go to work, so I share it with all of you. Breaking Dawn. It was just on. I was watching, I was like, oh, I remember this. The vampires and wolves. It's like a little cheesy. But it was breaking dawn. Interesting, right? Interesting. And then, of course, I stopped that video. I sang at the end of the video. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new light. Then I put the tweet out, it's a new dawn. I don't know why I was doing it. Just came out. Just came out. Sometimes things happen. At the end of this incredibly talented poet, Amanda Gorman, right? I got to say these things because whatever he's saying, she is talented. I wasn't at the inauguration saying my poem, right? But listen, this is beautiful. When day comes, we step out of the shade, right? You get out of the fear when the light's there. Aflame and unafraid. This is a good poem. The new dawn blooms as we free it. I would say the new dawn blooms when the Lord makes it, but that's okay. We'll just say the new dawn blooms when we step into it, right? Okay? For there is always light if we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it. Now that's a beautiful thing. Does it matter that Oprah gave her a caged bird on her hand? I don't know. Does that mean that, the system is going to try to stifle the truth of God? I don't know. I think it's been doing that a long time. I think it's been driving people to all the wrong places. And that's why it's interesting that all the wrong places seems to be shutting down. But I think they're going to start opening them up again. We're going to see what happens. This is a very interesting time. It's a time to be encouraged. And it's on track, right? Like I said, as long as this goes a certain way, I'm off the hook. I feel like I'm off the hook. So I feel like, okay, I'm moving in the right direction. I'm saying the right things. I'm hoping that I continue to do so. But I don't know, because I'm not coming on here saying the Lord told me this or that. I'm sharing like dreams. Remember, they're dreams. They're just dreams, which I believe God does speak to us in dreams. But what do I know? So I come on here and I share things. And many times it turns out that it happens. Like in such detail and clarity, which makes it very, very cool. But the best part is, this is the day that you do the same thing. How many of your dreams do I get? How many of you are turning to the Lord? How many of you are letting go of fear? Because God doesn't give us the spirit of fear. He gives us peace, power, and a sound mind. Think on these things, my friends. Whatever is good, whatever is true, whatever is pure, whatever is righteous, whatever is kind, whatever is patient, whatever is compassionate, whatever is enduring, whatever is generous, whatever is charitable. I'm adding a bunch of stuff. It's in the scriptures. Think on these things. Don't think about, whether or not somebody put their hand on. Wouldn't put their hand on. I get it. The system's meant to keep us all scared. But I hope that the truth sets you free, so you ask for the truth no matter what the cost. And if you want, by the way, get Noah's shirt. It's in the link below if you want to support the channel. Thank you for those of you that support me on Patreon. Thank you for those of you that share the videos and that leave a comment and that understand that this is important for people to hear. Because could you imagine what the world would be if more people, took this incredible wisdom that was given to us by Christ, this incredible wisdom that is shared freely with all of you, right? You just got to watch a couple of commercial breaks here and there, And thank you for watching through them. And now that I hope that they're better, because I used to not know what I was doing, and they used to load me up with like 1 million, and that used to bother people. And once again, what does fear say? Fear told me, they're stifling you and they're trying to knock people away. They were just trying to make a lot of money, because greed is what makes this beast system rule, right? So let's stop with the greed and let's start with the love, and have the best day ever. I love each and every one of you, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching Jacob Israel. Please hit that like button, leave a comment, subscribe, and share this channel around. If these shows have helped you, help Jacob to reach more any way you can, and have the best day ever.
Click it.